In 1989, the city of Tacoma Park mandated recycling. And at that time, the city of Tacoma Park was the target of a lot of giggling and press coverage suggesting that the city of Tacoma Park was attempting to be a nanny state, that it would be sending the garbage police around to identify whether a stray mayonnaise jar ended up in the wrong trash receptacle. Some individuals in the city of Tacoma Park said that they didn't want the overriding power of government telling them how to separate their garbage, but a majority of homeowners in Tacoma Park were delighted to comply. There were no garbage police. Citations were not issued, and in 1993, Montgomery County followed the city of Tacoma Park and adopted mandatory recycling for homeowners throughout Montgomery County, and now we have a very high recycling compliance rate, and I don't hear any complaints from my constituents that the nanny state is forcing them to put glass in a recycling container and trash in a trash container. It's a widely accepted practice of homeowners, so much so, I think, that when any of us travel to jurisdictions that don't require recycling, we're a little confused. Where do we put the tin can? Where do we put the plastic bottle? It's just become an ordinary and recognized part of our daily lives. There is example after example of where Montgomery County has taken the lead in response to our constituents, and indeed where a municipality has taken the lead and then Montgomery County has followed. Recently, we prohibited the use of coal tar sealant on driveways. Recently, we prohibited the use of polystyrene in food service. We have taken steps, even though there is not immediate, overwhelming case to be made that one day's exposure to coal tar sealant would result in immediate death. We felt that it was prudent to protect the public from the accumulated long-term effects of a known carcinogen and a known harm to our water supply. And so we applied the precautionary principle. And in this case, I think very similarly to actions that Montgomery County has taken before. And as was earlier stated, this measure has received overwhelming public support. My staff did an analysis of all the correspondence received in the year preceding September 9th, and 72%, that is 1,699 correspondents expressed support for Bill 5214, 663, 28% expressed opposition. So that's not a scientific survey, but of those who were moved to express their views to the county council, overwhelmingly 72% felt that we should go ahead with Bill 5214, a legal prohibition on the use of chemicals known to be toxic and harmful to children and pets is the only way to bring about a real change in behavior. I think that if recycling in people's homes were voluntary, it would not occur at the same rate as mandatory. There's a use for government power. I understand that government power is rightly limited, that we should use it in a circumspect manner. I know that there are some who feel that this bill represents a government overreach. I think Mr. Berliner has used that word himself. I'm sensitive to that. I want to use the power that the voters have given us with great discretion and care. But when I hear stories like 400 children in 1997 exposed to Dursban, 400 children on home and hospital care, because at the time in 1997, EPA allowed the use of Dursban on lawns. It's now been banned years later. When I hear stories like the mother who wrote to me this morning, whose son was exposed to a pesticide for insect control, who developed a violent case of hives and became severely nauseous, it just strikes me that although each of us has the right to care for our own lawns, none of us has the right to expose our neighbors to harm. And so the question comes as to where our desire for an attractive lawn extends into doing real harm to people who live in our communities, who may have respiratory disease, asthma, or others, who may have multiple chemical sensitivity. who may, over the long term, be exposed to growing concentrations of carcinogens, endocrine disruptors. These are serious health risks. And what is the cost and benefit of exposing our communities and our water supply to these risks when there are so many other ways to achieve an attractive lawn? You know, the healthiest thing for all of us would be to lean over and pull that weed. Lean over, use your knees, use your back, pull that weed. That's the best method of weed control.